Imagine Rome in 195 BCE. Hannibal has been defeated, the Republic is flourishing, and yet the streets are filled with crowds of women, not celebrating, but protesting. They are demanding the repeal of a law that had controlled their clothing, their jewelry, even their freedom to ride in carriages. This was the Lex Oppia, and its repeal became one of the most dramatic moments of women's collective action in Roman history. The Lex Oppia was passed 2 decades earlier, in the darkest days of the Second Punic War. Hannibal had crushed Roman armies, resources were scarce, and sacrifice was demanded from all citizens. The tribune Gaius Oppius introduced a strict law: no woman could own more than half an ounce of gold, wear brightly colored garments, or ride in a carriage within the city, except during religious ceremonies. It was a wartime austerity measure, meant to preserve resources and discourage luxury while Rome fought for survival. By 195 BCE, everything had changed. Rome was victorious, wealth was flowing in, and citizens enjoyed peace. But women still lived under wartime restrictions. 2 tribunes, Marcus Fundanius and Lucius Valerius, proposed repealing the Lex Oppia. The response was extraordinary. Roman women flooded the streets in protest. They stopped men on their way to the Forum, begging for their votes. Livy writes, "Nor could the matrons be kept at home, either by advice or shame, nor even by the commands of their husbands, but they beset every street and pass in the city, beseeching the men that they might have their former ornaments restored. Their numbers grew daily. Women even traveled in from the countryside. They surrounded magistrates and tribunes, demanding repeal. For once, the political stage of Rome was taken over not by soldiers, but by women." But Marcus Porcius Cato, later known as Cato the Elder, was outraged. To him, the protest was not just about jewelry or carriages. It was about power, discipline, and control. If each man had kept his wife under control, we should have less trouble with the whole sex. But now we cannot endure them one by one at home, and we fear them in a body here in the Forum. Once they are your equals, they will become your superiors. Cato believed that women's desires were dangerous and insatiable. He compared their love of spending to a disease. A woman's desire to spend money is a sickness which cannot be cured, only restrained. To Cato, luxury was a threat as dangerous as Hannibal had been. He feared Rome's new prosperity would corrupt its morals. He even linked the Lex Oppia to other sumptuary laws, like the Lex Fannia and Lex Didia, which limited banquets and feasting. All were, in his mind, necessary chains to keep greed and extravagance under control. Lucius Valerius answered Cato with equal passion. He reminded Rome that the law had been passed in wartime, when every resource was needed for survival. Now, with peace restored, it was unfair to deny women what they had given up only out of necessity. He pointed to history. Women had often sacrificed for Rome, donating their gold after the Gallic sack, contributing their wealth in the Punic War, even stepping in to save the city during crises like the standoff with Coriolanus. If they had shown such loyalty, why treat them as if they could not be trusted? Valerius turned Cato's own argument on its head with biting sarcasm. Will we forbid women the use of purple? And although you, a man, are allowed to use purple for the blanket on your bed, will you not allow your wife to have a purple cloak? Even your horse will be more beautifully arrayed than your wife is clothed. It was a powerful appeal to fairness. If men could enjoy the symbols of status, why should women, barred from office, military honors, or triumphs, be denied their only visible signs of dignity? The debate raged. But the women's persistence was stronger. The next day, they poured out in even greater numbers, surrounding the homes of the tribunes who opposed repeal. They refused to leave until opposition collapsed. Under this pressure, the tribes voted, and the Lex Oppia was repealed, 20 years after it was first passed. Cato, defeated, soon left on campaign. But Rome had witnessed something extraordinary. Women, acting collectively in public, had forced a change in the law. For Livy, our narrator, this was a curious distraction from the great wars of Rome. But for us, it shows how Roman women could seize power, not in the Senate or the battlefield, but in the streets. They had confronted Rome's most conservative voices, and won. The repeal of the Lex Oppia reminds us that even in a world dominated by men, women found ways to make their voices heard. They marched, they protested, and they prevailed. If you liked this video, please subscribe, like and sacrifice a comment to the algorithm. See you soon.